Welcome back to the Go Bros. Today we're working on a 2000 Chevy Silverado. It's making some awful noises coming from the brakes. We got a whole new set to put on, but hopefully we can find out what's making the noise. First things first, get your dust cover removed and take your wheel off. Give your tire some gentle persuasion if it's stuck on and doesn't want to come off. There's a 10mm bolt holding on the brake line and your speed sensor. Remove that so you can swing your caliper out of the way once you loosen it. Once you get the two bolts out holding the caliper in, you can swing it up out of the way, remove your old brake pads and the brackets. Then remove the two bolts holding the brake pad holder and get that out of the way so you can pull the rotor off. Once you get everything pulled apart, I like to use a pair of C-clamps to push the pistons back in. Just slowly work them all the way back in. Then you won't have any issues when you go to put your caliper back on with your new brake pads. Make sure to clean your hub off real good so your rotor has a good contact to the hub. I like to put a little bit of anti-seize on there so the caliper comes off easy for the next guy. Set your rotor back on there and you can now put your bracket back on that holds your brake pads in. Make sure you clean off the surface where your clips are going to get installed with a wire brush. Then you can go ahead and install your clips. You can either put a little bit of grease on the sliders of the clips there or on the ends of the brake pad themselves. Now you can slide your brake pads on. They should go on fairly easy, but you may have to use a rubber mallet to get them started. Then grab your caliper and slide it back into place. Tighten the two bolts that hold the caliper on. Slide your tire back in there and get it mounted back up. Only 3 more to go. This one should be the exact same process as the passenger side. Remove your old brake pads and retaining clips. I think it's easiest to use a wire brush while that bracket's still mounted on there. Then once you're done, remove it so you can replace your rotor. Always be sure to clean your surfaces before installing your new parts. Make sure to at least give it one ugga-dugga. Don't forget to lubricate your sliders. Reinstall your caliper. Make sure to put some fresh grease on your sliding pins. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why your brakes could get stuck on. Don't forget to reattach your bracket for your wheel speed sensors. Get your tire put on and onto the back. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of persuasion. I think it's a good practice to slide your tire underneath your truck just as an extra precaution. So we found part of our issue. This caliper and the brake pads were completely full of grease and oil. Well, you might be thinking it was well lubricated, but brakes and oil don't work well together. So the real culprit of this was my axle seals were leaking and causing my brakes to get covered in oil. I didn't show in the video, but I went ahead and replaced both of my axle seals while I had stuff tore apart to hopefully fix this issue. I'm using a C-clamp to decompress my piston on my caliper just like the front. After cleaning everything up really well and getting rid of all the grease, I can go ahead and start reassembling. Alright, 3 of 4 done. Last one. This is where the sparks began to fly and we actually found our real issue. Those sliders that I was talking about earlier seized up and caused the one side of the brake pad to get stuck. This wore the one side of the brake pad completely off, and this was the terrible noise we were hearing. I had an awful time getting the bolts out for the bracket that holds the brake pads, so I had to use a breaker bar and a pipe. It also did some pretty crazy damage to the rotor. Here you can see those fresh axle seals that we put in. Make sure you get everything cleaned up and then you can start reassembling. By this time you should be getting pretty good, and this last one should go pretty quick. Don't forget to put a little bit of lube on your sliders. One of the sliding pins on this caliper was seized up, so I did have to pull it apart and give it a little bit of extra attention to make sure it moved freely. Get everything tightened back up and put your wheel back on. Take your truck off the jack stands and you should be good to go. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.